Hey everyone, it's Meloo here with a short guide on how to farm unlimited amounts of character ascent materials as well as weapon upgrade materials. So you might have noticed that especially in the very early game, but also in the mid game, one of the bigger bottlenecks are actually some of these materials that don't require resin, but they are actually really hard to come by. So for some of them there are only a handful of places where you could farm them with a high density. For the mushrooms, for example, this one here is a really good spot, but you will also only get out like 10 or 12 from this spot, and then they have a day or 2 days cooldown, basically limiting your character progress speed. For those ones, for the mushrooms, it's actually not that long, but for example for ore or crystal chunks, it's quite a long time. So let's start by giving a short warning and a short explanation on how the open world multiplayer co-op works. As I already mentioned, this is also true for those crystal chunks, which are really important, especially later on in the game, as they are the raw material for crafting mystic enhancement ores, which is used for upgrading your weapons. Early on in the game you might have more than enough mystic enhancement ores, but this will change later on in the game as you upgrade certain weapons to level 80, so you're really bound to farm these crystal chunks, and they have a really long cooldown timer, so the respawn rate is approximately 2 to 3 days, so you absolutely want to make sure that no one else is farming your enhancement ores. Let's assume another player is joining your world. If you're both at the same place and within a certain area, and one of you destroys those crystal chunks, actually both of the players can loot the crystal chunk. However, if another player is joining your party and he ports away from you and only the guest character, only the guest player is here and is looting and destroying all your crystal ore, then you can't loot it anymore and you will still have the cooldown. So if you decide to let other players join your world, pay close attention if they're sticking around. If they're porting away, you might want to check the map and look for their icon where they are, and if they're somewhere even close to a mining spot, I would immediately kick them, because they want to steal your resource. Especially lower ranked players, so adventurer rank 25 and below, they don't notice yet and get looted a lot by high ranked players. High ranked players will immediately kick you as soon as you port away from them. Now with this in mind, we have a couple of options to optimize our resource farming. One would be of course just joining low ranked players and ninja loot their materials, but of course this promotes toxicity. A far better approach, for example, is to organize yourself with 2 or 3 friends, or just go into the official Discord and look for like-minded people. So basically you would agree upon a time where all of you 4 people meet together, and then all of you 4 go into one player's world, farm all the crystal ores, then you go into the second player's world, then the third player's, and then the fourth player's world. So if everything is finished and done, everyone would have 4 times the weapon upgrade materials compared to only farming one player's world. Another approach that doesn't even need other people but could be considered an exploit, but then again, rerolling accounts would also be considered an exploit then, is to use your reroll accounts. I'm sure most of you guys rerolled and played these reroll accounts to adventurer rank 7 or adventurer rank 10. You could play these accounts up to the point where you unlock co-op mode, and because the game is cross-platform, basically you would log into a secondary device, maybe on your mobile phone or your PS4 or whatever is not your main device, and then you log into your main account on your main device, and then you simply join your alt account's world with your main account and loot the resources there. And the more reroll accounts you have, the more you can cycle through those accounts on your second device, basically making it unlimited on how much weapon upgrade materials you could farm by farming these crystal chunks. The last method I mentioned, do this one at your own risk, because it could be considered an exploit by MiHoYo. However, in my opinion it should be fine, because it only speeds up the process of acquiring the non-resin materials, which in turn makes you even more want to buy resin, right? The faster you can acquire the non-resin upgrade materials, the more the demand for resin rises. So with this in mind, I think MiHoYo should be fine. However, don't come to me if you get banned or anything while doing this. Do it at your own risk. So this pretty much covers the weapon upgrade materials as well as some of the character ascent materials. However, we also, in a lot of cases, we need materials from skirmishers, basically these insignias, and also we need a lot of these ones, the mistgrass, and the mistgrass wig from the Electrocetion mages. And there's also a big misconception about those two bosses, right? So if you, let's say, I press on navigate, I need materials from the Electrocetion mages, so I press on navigate and it will show me a boss. So now I can kill the Electrocetion mage, loot the materials that I need, and then I simply just go back into boss and press again on navigate, and now it would show me the next spawn location. Next one would be probably here, and another one would be here, and so on. However, after 5 or 6, or depending on the boss, after a couple of boss fights, after a couple of encounters, it will say respawn time, cooldown. So you can't press navigate anymore. So this is true for the Electrocetion mage, but also a lot of other bosses. I'm just mentioning the skirmisher and the Cetion mage because you need a lot of materials from them. However, if it says respawning for those bosses, it doesn't mean they're not on your map anymore. It just means you can't access them through this menu anymore, through your adventurer book. So this one has a cooldown, navigate. However, there are many more Cetion mages and skirmishers on your map, and they will still drop those resources. So how can you find them? Actually, there's an interactive roadmap, and I'm not talking about the English interactive roadmap, I'm talking about a Chinese one. Maybe some of you haven't heard or haven't seen this one yet. And here you have a drop down menu where you can, press this, and now it shows me all of the Electrocetion mages. Here we have the skirmishers, so we can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this small area alone we have 4, 5, 6. So yeah, I would advise you to have a look at this Chinese interactive map as well. So this pretty much sums it up. I hope I could help some of you. Thanks for watching. See ya.